I was very fortunate. I had a tremendous mother who loved me very, very much, so I felt good. However, she did not create entitlement. When I lost or when I was doing bad, she told me. She didn't make a fake environment, which is a huge factor. And to be honest, my biggest concern about the last 20 years of parenting, too much fake environments, too much entitlement, which is why so many people struggle when they go into the real world, because the real world doesn't care. The real world is not your mama anymore. And so I think about those things. Fast forward, I was very good at selling baseball cards. When you're making $3,000 or $4,000 a weekend when you're 14 years old, you've got it. I was good, fine. But then my dad eventually bought a liquor store and he dragged me into the liquor store when I was 14. I started making $2 an hour, bagging ice. This was huge for me. If I didn't have that transition, all the money I was making as a young kid, it came so easy because I was naturally talented. I think not having that struggle of losing all that because my dad forced me to work in the store and making $20 a day, that really helped me. And I learned a lot in that liquor store. Most of all, what I learned was to watch people. Today, after this talk, I will go to the airport and on my flight, I will literally read most of the comments on Twitter, on Instagram, your DMs. I will read them, and I'll read them to understand, was there anything I said in this hour that stood out, that didn't hit, that did hit? I learned that watching people, and more importantly, understanding people, and most importantly, being empathetic to people was the best way to build a real business, to build something meaningful. The biggest problem, I'll tell you right now, one of the biggest reasons most people in this room, if they decide to start an entrepreneurial venture, a side hustle, whether you try to sell something in your home on Facebook Marketplace, which, oh, by the way, I'm gonna bring up later, my biggest belief that the quickest way for many people here to start is to sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace, but I'll talk about that later. Whether it's that, whether you're finally ready to start your podcast on Spotify, whether you're gonna build your Instagram profile or meme page because you want brand dollars, whatever you're up to in this room, the reality is that if you have to put in so much work, but so much of what comes out of people's mouth or what they post is selfish, not selfless. It's what you want. You want them to buy it. You want them to like your post. You want them to follow you. The biggest reason I have the luxury of standing here today is from the wine business to the content I made on YouTube when it first came out, to everything I've done over the last 8 to 9 years in my books, in all my free content. I've always thought, how do I bring more value to you than I get in return? It's very simple. Karma, or doing the right thing, always works. The problem is, most people are impatient. The reason most people are impatient, especially in cultures like mine, Eastern European, in cultures like here, there's too many people in here that are trying to get successful too fast because they want to prove it to their parents. And in that impatience is a very important point. My friends, the number one thing I fear, period, is that people live their lives based on other people's opinions. The number one thing that I have seen as I've gotten older that has been very obvious to me is that most of the people here today do many of the things they do because of 1 to 5 people's opinions in their lives, whether their parents, their spouse, their older sibling, their neighbor. Living your life predicated on the judgment of somebody else is the great weakness of the human being.